Passion our purpose, profit our pain. I don't want my name to ever be in vain. A life full of substance is the only thing that will remain the same. Millennial thoughts. Audio. So welcome everybody to season 5 of Millennial Thoughts. I have a special co-host this season. Her name is Amber, aka the Adulting Queen. I just didn't think that I could do a season without the Adulting Queen on Millennial Thoughts because that's really all we talk about. So y'all welcome her, and I'll let her introduce herself and get on with the episode.
I'm Amber. Thank you so much for having me because I know this is a long time coming. We definitely have been talking about this for almost over a year now because I met you last year, like during the pandemic via Instagram. But like she said, I'm Amber, aka the Adulting Queen. I'm a higher education professional, but started my business, the Adulting Queen, because no one teaches you how to adult, and adulting is a ghetto. So we have conversations about budgeting, finding an apartment, finding your purpose, imposter syndrome, bills, like literally everything about being like a human and adulting, because again, it is ghetto. We cannot stress that enough. And
0 out of 10 would not recommend.
I really would not recommend. I just was talking to my friend, like, what is happening here? And like, why did we think this was like where we wanted to be? Because it really isn't.
Like so much freedom, yet so much responsibility. Yeah. Oh my goodness. You might know her. She's in higher ed too, but her name is Cassie.
I think I follow her on Instagram, but we haven't met.
Yes, she put on Instagram like the other day. It was like responsibilities, and I said yes, I love that. That needs to be an episode title because it really is like responsibilities. Like it's like every time you get paid, every time something happens, you'd be like something always gotta take your money. You'd be like, I was trying to save that. Like I just need a little bit of it. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's like so many unexpected things happen. But again, that's why I started my platform, helping people through coaching, events, speaking, for helping you talk about these topics and just bring awareness to them. And by no means am I trying to say that I have it all together, but I use different people that I know that have experienced certain things and just bring us all together to talk about what are we doing and what are the resources that could help other people.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree. Adulting is hard. And I was going to say something, but I kind of forgot. Well, Millennial Thoughts like has been around since 2018. Oh, and I was going to say I started in grad school. So it wasn't necessarily like for adulting, but it was kind of still like, talking about different experiences as you're like getting older, you're getting your degree. So I guess it kind of fell into the adulting niche. Yeah. That's why everybody's like, how did you find your niche? I'm like, my niche found me. Okay. I'm like, I don't hear nobody talking about it. I'm talking about this. So.
Yeah. And so I would say that's such a good point because for me, like it started being in higher ed and working with college students that are like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and don't understand and know what's going to hit them when they graduate. And like, oh, I got a degree, I'm automatically going to get a job. Like, unfortunately, you might not. Or you think, oh my God, I'm going to get a full-time job and like have so much money. You might not. Like, there's so many realities.
Get a full-time job. 2 years. But I mean, 1 year probably was because of COVID. So
yeah, and that's like definitely a factor that plays into a lot now because of COVID. But even pre-COVID, like there were just so many issues with education and people thinking that I'm going through college and I'm going to be prepared for life, and like you're not prepared for life after college.
That's what they teach you. They teach you go to school, 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 and then get a job and then have a career and be there for 20 years, 40 years, and then retire. It's like, well, if I go to school and then I can't get a job, then it feels like you don't know really what to do because like it's conditioning you to like, I need to get a job. I need to get a job. There's no like relax your mind, relax your brain. People asking you what you're doing next, where you going to bed to relax my mind. Okay. Like that's where I'm going. People was asking me that like when I graduated in 2019, they're like, what are you doing next? I have no idea. Like, I'm just going back home. Like I traveled my whole summer. Like, I just don't know what I'm doing next. Like people always ask you that. I'm like, if y'all ain't paying me, if y'all ain't giving me no rent money, don't be asking what I'm doing next because like you're so programmed. And granted, when you were the other generations, they were like able, they didn't even really go to school. They were able to like go to factories. They were able to get good jobs. Like now it's just like so much competition. It's so much in and out and bachelor's and master's and doctorate and all these different degrees. And it's just so much and it's just so overwhelming. And I feel like who's best to talk about it than the people who are going through it right now. So I
Yeah.
felt like this was a great way to be able to connect with like other millennials. And then I guess like the people under us too, like because we are in student affairs.
Mhm.
So I'm also in student affairs too. So working with that generation that's coming up, you're still able to help them and you're still able to talk through like what you are going through as well.
Yeah, because I feel like the problems that adults face don't they change like a little bit generation to generation, but the problems still stand of like people not understanding taxes, health insurance, saving money, investing, buying a home, like apartment searching, like those things are like basic things that like you need to survive, but nobody tells you how to do that. And even if like your high school or college is doing events, they're not really telling you like the truth or the struggles. They're telling you like basic 5-step plan to get an apartment, but they're not telling you about like the hidden things that you might not think about. And I was just talking to somebody today about job searching in higher ed, and I was like, I'm not afraid to tell you like what I did, not necessarily wrong, but like what I wish I did better or what I didn't know, because that's only going to help the next person be better. Because again, nobody's talking about these things. They're just like, oh, I had to do it on my own, so like you should do it on your own. And that's not the mentality that we
No,
should
that's
have.
not what we should. I had a career coach, like how you said, like we went to NASPA. I went to TPE. So if
Mhm.
anybody doesn't know me, I'm Incident Affairs. So my name is Alieshia. I didn't really introduce myself, but I do have a master's in higher education. So I am a student affairs professional, but I call myself like a content creator as well. So like I just do a little mix of them both.
Mhm.
And I started this in 2018 when I was in grad school because I just felt like there was nothing to like, no one to talk about. So I talked a little bit about the job search process, and I even got a career coach. Like she helped me with my resume and my like interview and stuff like that. But even then, like someone can help you, but if they're not really in that profession, like she was new to her job. Not saying that she's bad, like she was a bad coach, but like even if she doesn't even really know too much about like what's going on, like she really can't really help you. And like I was like, it's hard to prepare for job interviews. And then also, you know what else I don't tell you? That every year stuff freaking changes. Like you can start with your resume this way, then they want to be like, okay, now it's the ATS model, now it's the SAT model, now it's the BDB model. I be like, what are all these models? And you got to get through the robot, and then you got. It's like y'all wasn't saying that before. My professor was like, well, if you want to move, like you just have to. And then if you want to be in student affairs, you just got to be open to moving. Well, what the heck I get this degree for if I'm not open to moving? I'm open to moving, but I'm just saying in general. And
Yeah.
so it's like all these little new nuances. Like it could be in other professions too, but like it's just like y'all aren't really telling the real. And then how much the stuff is getting paid. Y'all feeding people like, oh yeah, do this, do this, do that. But y'all are not telling people how much it costs. And then also you can't really live off of one income like that with the job market being so low and the housing being so high. We just can't come in the middle of it. And so I think that's really so frustrating. But you see the realities of it when you do finally graduate and they be like, pay student loans back. I'll be like, differ.
And this is again why adulting is ghetto. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday too about like an interview for like what I do and what the adulting queen is. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first started it, it was supposed to be I started in like 2019, January 2019. And it wasn't like yeah, it was January 2019 when I started when I was still working in New York. And I started it because people would always ask me about like brunch places or traveling hacks. And then even like my students would ask me about like adulting like things. So I was like, oh, let me just like start this Instagram. And I started it as Adulting Queen, but then there was another page, which I'm not even gonna say because like we don't need to give them hype. But I was like, oh, like now I need to change mine to the Adulting Queen because theirs was the same name except for like another word on the end. So I was like, oh no, like I need to be the Adulting Queen and take that like while I can before it gets taken. And then when I started, I was supposed to have an in-person event to talk about like adulting topics and stuff. And people were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come. By the time the date was rolling around, it just kept dwindling that people were like, oh, I can't show up anymore. Like I got this, I got that. And two of my friends came, but we ended up having like a regular brunch. And they were like, oh, well, like what was this gonna be about? And we talked about like what I had planned to do at the brunch was talk about the things that we don't talk about as adults of like insurance, mental health, finding jobs, like supporting people, like moving, all of the things. And they were like, oh, like that sounds really cool. So I was like, okay, let me just keep up with this Instagram page. Like I started the website. I would do a couple blogs like here and there about stuff. And again, people still weren't like getting it. They're like, but why do we need this? Or like, what are you doing? And I feel like it's confusing to people or they don't understand it because, like you mentioned, people aren't doing it. Because when I even search just like adulting hashtags or adulting tips, only white people come up. And
that's what I was gonna say. I don't see that many Black people talking about it. So I feel like we should be the pillars in it because we talk about it all the time.
Exactly.
But that's another conversation for another day.
No, yeah, we gotta put that on the list of like Black versus white versus Hispanic versus whatever like topics and things. But it was like only white people were coming up. Or it was like somebody saying they're adulting because they're walking in the park. Like it wasn't educational adulting. It was just people saying they're doing something that makes them feel like they're adulting. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, this can work. And then again, working in a college and like hearing all my friends and people saying like, oh yeah, like people need this, or can you come speak at our schools? And with all the trainings that I've just done for my own students, I was like, this doesn't make sense to people, but it makes sense to me. And then meeting people like you and others on Instagram that are like, yeah, this makes sense. And like people need this is why I'm doing it. And it's more so serving as like an inspiration. And again, providing resources and people and businesses and things that people can also utilize along their journey. Because adulting really is like just being a human and living your life, but knowing it's ghetto that nobody teaches you.
Okay, it's ghetto, but yeah, I see what you're doing. Yeah, you're like really going and thriving off of it. But I felt like that too. That's why I was like, oh, it's cool to meet you. That's why I didn't know you started in 2019. But it's like I would say adulting, like how you're saying it, like, but people don't think about it, so they don't know what it is. They're just like, oh, I'm getting older, I'm doing this. But like, really, who taught you how to do taxes? This was my first year I've ever did taxes on my own. I never did my taxes. So I'm like scrambling, girl, into the last day. Basically, don't give Black people an extension because they're gonna wait till the last minute.
No, I did. I was doing mine yesterday. Like, government, please don't like screw me over. I did mine yesterday too, because they gave us the extension.
I was over here turbo taxing it.
No, literally, me too.
Yeah, I'm like, what? How do I even do this? I don't even know, but like, I never did it because I grew up like as a military child, so I always went on post to do it. So I never had to do it myself, and so I'm like, dang, I'm not at home. I don't really know what to do. Then they talk about $150, $180. I don't have that much money for you because I'm not getting that much money back. Because
I don't understand taxes. That I really don't. I just put the numbers in there and pray to Jesus that it was correct and that nobody's gonna come after me later. Because
okay, I seen this thing. It was like on Instagram. It was like when the government knows how much you owe them in taxes or how much they owe you in taxes, but they want to use TurboTax because it's a private thing so that they can tell you, but you already knew how much you. I'm like, this is all a scam. Money is a scam. Everything's a scam. Adulting is a scam.
It really is. It like really is. There are so many things that don't make sense, like taxes. Like I moved from New York to Maryland during the last year. I lived in New York for 6 months and Maryland for like 6 because I moved at the end of June. And I had to pay Maryland money. And I'm like, Maryland, you knew when I got here and I started working here how much your taxes are. So why don't you just take out the amount of taxes that you need so I don't have to pay you back at the end of the year? Like, I don't understand. Even, I mean, any state really. And then I lived in Florida where they don't have state taxes. So when I moved to New York, I had to pay more because Florida didn't take out taxes. And I'm like, this is just wild.
Oh my gosh, I was cracking up. So I'm like in this Black millennial single degree group or whatever. And it was like, would you relocate for a significant other? They was like, I'm only relocating to where they don't do state taxes.
No, I don't even know what states don't, except
Delaware doesn't have Delaware doesn't have like whatever that tax thing is.
That might have to be the next move then because they don't make sense. State taxes make 0 sense.
I don't understand because I still be hitting potholes Streets
And
still be messed
tolls, you be
up.
paying tolls and hitting potholes.
Books still be old in the elementary schools.
Yeah, so I
Even
don't know
from
what
1990s. So
exactly.
yeah,
What are the tolls?
that is our adulting rants. Okay, this is what y'all gonna be hearing: the adulting rants and scams of
Nothing makes sense.
2021. So yeah, it doesn't really make sense
Like
at
literally nothing makes sense about being an adult. Except for that you can drink alcohol when you want. That makes sense. But otherwise, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that makes sense about being an adult.
yeah, probably nothing.
No.
You get to, I guess you get to do what you want to do, but not really, because you still gotta go to work.
Like
Still
work takes up most of your time, which I hate that. Like work takes up so much time and then sleeping, but I mean sleeping is subjective to what your schedule is, but work takes up the most of your time out of a week. So how are you supposed to wash clothes, cook, go to the gym, do anything that you like watch TV, read? How are you supposed to do any of that stuff?
it's like you're programmed to just be a robot. That's how they're doing it. Because it's like, good gosh, I get off at 5 o'clock. I get home about 5:30. Dinner.
Maybe 5:30, because if you think in New York, people commute up to an hour to 2 hours just to work.
Yeah.
So like,
So I was thinking of driving, but if you're on that bus, no man, that's why I came living in New York. And then cook can take about an hour. It could take an hour and a half. That's why I don't do it. When I know when I made it, when I when I can get me, I'm speaking into an existence. Like it's not necessarily like a chef, but like if I can get meal prep. Ooh, I
yeah.
know I made it when I get meal prep.
No, the cleaner. We've been talking about that.
Oh my god, I was so close to getting a cleaner. I booked cleaning everything. She talking about some. Oh, I got called into work, ma'am. You're messing up my self care day. Okay,
I need
like
a only because I hate cleaning the bathroom. I don't know why or where this came from, but I hate cleaning the bathroom. Like my bathroom is not dirty or disgusting, but when I have to clean the bathroom, like I really have to mentally prepare myself to clean the bathroom because I hate doing it. Like I think it's gross. I don't know why. I just hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the humidity and like everything getting all dusty and like it's just no, I don't like it. I hate cleaning the bathroom.
And it's just like you're exhausted at the end of the day because you're mentally exhausted or you're physically exhausted. You don't want to do nothing. You want to have fun on a Saturday, but then you got to clean up. Like it's just too much. And then they talking about some ad kids. Oh, baby, I said,
no, honestly,
let me close my nose. Let me close my nose.
Through the pandemic, like I have really my heart goes out to the people with kids, even pre-pandemic. But it's like, how? It's expensive. They waste so much stuff. They grow too quick. You always have to keep buying clothes and food. They eat everything.
Like, I need to start an investment right now for a kid fund.
Yeah. And then like one of my friends who's gonna have a child, like I found that like with our generation, a lot more people are breastfeeding. And I was saying that I think that's interesting. And my friend was like, because formula's too expensive. So we're all breastfeeding.
Somebody was like, yeah, formula is $100. They was like getting on birth control. I was weak though. But yes, I used to work at a grocery store and I would see it too. I'm like, formula is y'all better do the human body and drink the breast milk.
It's wild. Because a lot more people our age group are breastfeeding, which I feel like our parents didn't do that.
Because they act like they didn't have time, something like that. But knowing that it is really better for the kid and it's a bonding thing, I feel like our generation just like feel like we learn stuff and then we like implement it. Like I feel like the other generation's like, okay, yeah, like, but they're stuck in their way. Some of them was breastfeeding, but ours is like, oh, well, first of all, it's like, oh, well, breast milk, oh, milk, oh, free. Oh, milk is expensive. Oh, and I get to buy on my child. So it's just like, okay, whatever is the most feasible when it comes to finances, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. But it's just been wild. But yeah, adulting just as ghetto again to remind you of the situation.
It's definitely ghetto. So, if y'all are adulting, y'all woes, let us know what y'all are doing.
Yeah, because it's really ghetto. And work.
Yeah. I just like, and it's just like, what is adulting? Okay, you get a job, you do this, but it's like, it's just so much more you just can't really have like, okay, even just going to work on home, like it always has to be something, you know.
Yeah. I would
So
say like adulting, because that is a good question of like what is it? Because when again I would be saying like what I'm doing, people wouldn't understand it because we've never had to actually sit down and break down like what is adulting and what considers somebody to be an adult. Like technically when somebody turns 18, people say they're an adult. I would honestly say that once you are 21 and older, you are an adult. That doesn't mean you're acting like an adult, but if you took like the route of going to college and once you graduate, that is kind of when you're entering quote unquote the real world. Like, because college definitely protects you from a lot, even though college also has its issues and things that it can work on. Being in college protects you from a lot of what the quote unquote real world.
I feel like it shelters you from the real world, but then sometimes I feel like it kind of can be the real world because I feel like if you're paying,
Yeah,
like I don't know, I feel like when you're a grown adult, it's like you're paying your own bills. Like you may be paying for your college, you may be
yeah,
paying
yeah.
for
It
and stuff
depends
like
on your
that.
circumstances,
Yeah,
definitely.
depending on your circumstance, I feel like college can shelter you because like you're in this bubble for so long. But
And
then
it's
again,
very handholdy, which is like, to me, I understand it, but at the same time, when we're trying to prepare people for the real world, quote unquote, like college isn't always doing that. Every school is different and what they offer is different and their culture is different. But the overall thing is that it's not preparing you for the real world because there's a lot of hand holding, there's a lot of extensions, there's a lot of exclusions from things where the real world does not do that for you, especially when it comes to like work, which is what I've had to talk to so many students about that are student leaders or saying they want to do things. I'm like, if you do this at a real job, like you could possibly be written up or fired or like penalized. And I'm not saying that to scare you, but I'm saying it to tell you now before you make those mistakes and you can't go back from it. Like, what are we gonna do?
yeah, it's just interesting because in high school they were like, your college, your professors, they will not do that. They will not do that. They will not. When
College professors don't care. You got no, they don't even care. You don't have to ask for the bathroom, go to the bathroom, and nothing. And I talked about that on a podcast that I was interviewed for. I was saying that like society is just messed up because high school you have to ask to do everything. Like everybody's checking in on you. They're making sure you're where you need to be, when you need to be there. God forbid you skip a class or you're in the hallway without a hall pass. Like there's tons of different things. You go to college, and because of how high school was, you're like, oh, hey, can I go to the bathroom? The professor's like, sure. You don't even have to show up to class. I don't care what you do.
yeah,
Kind of like, what? Like,
it's like you're really not preparing them. They think they're preparing them, and even that's what I was saying. Like before, I worked at elementary school, and I'm like, y'all aren't preparing them for middle school because like elementary school, they get baby. These kids they don't want to write. They be like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Well, your teacher's giving you the answers right now. Next year, you're not gonna get the answers. So I
yeah.
feel like it needs to be a whole change. Like no, hold them accountable in elementary school so they know when they get to middle school, and then maybe high school should change. Like high school should be like, well, you don't have to ask, but you got to get your work done, and it's like you have to turn yourself in. We're gonna treat you like you said you want to be grown in the sense like college students, then we're going to treat you like that. Okay, go ahead and leave and go to the bathroom. Because I guess I don't agree with that because people do be having to go to the bathroom and teachers be mean. But
And
I
then
do see on the other side of teachers go like,
already.
dang, like I'm trying to teach. So like it's distracting. But if they want to go, make sure they just get their work done. Treat it like a college class how you want to. But I feel like even in elementary, it's like they're not really preparing them. They're like babysitting them or like pacifying them so young, like y'all, they're not gonna know the real world either. In elementary
Yeah.
school, like you're not listening, y'all ain't knowing how to read and they just getting passed on. I just whew.
Yeah. No, it's so many things. And then even like with going through like the education system and whether you go to college or not, another part that really plays a factor that people don't talk about is like how you were raised and how you grew up. And I think that also when you get into the real world, we just think of people like you said, like as robots or like they're supposed to just fall into line. But there's like so many complexities of a person of why they're doing certain things that we don't always take the time to realize. And I'm not saying we need to take like our all of our time to understand a person, but I think that if people just approach things with like we don't know how somebody was raised or they might have said the wrong thing, but like it could be because that's how they were taught, or like that's what they've seen, which is influencing their decisions and their thoughts, versus like my way is the right way and like this is what the status quo is, so follow that, versus whatever it is that you are thinking, then I think it would be better. But I don't really know where we start that conversation about like being an adult, because your life and how you were raised really affects just you overall later in
Yeah,
life.
'cause that like goes. Yeah, because that goes into like cultural like background, like
Exactly.
going to religion, like that
Exactly.
can go really really deep, and everybody is literally like raised differently. So that's just like so crazy too. And it's just like so many barriers and so many factors. And so it's like, oh dang, it's like I mean, you want to help everybody, but you can't win everybody over. So it's like, which one do I do? I see what
Exactly.
you're saying. That one, that's why I said I have to get out of working with kids. So I have to go to the next level because like kids are really crazy. Kids are crazy, but like nobody holds them responsible. They
But
can do
it's so
whatever.
weird because I like always think, where do we lose the sense of like innocence and forgiveness that we have for kids versus what we have for adults? So like for example, kids' birthdays, everybody's running, jumping, getting gifts, getting gift cards, giving money, doing all these grand gestures. But somewhere along the line, when you become an adult and you start doing that for yourself, or like saying to people what you want, like nobody's really gifting you things. Or even like just getting an apartment, like we have a whole grand thing of like, oh my god, it's like a housewarming, let's get you stuff, but then it like dies off. And I honestly feel like the maintaining is more important than like the initial step, because everybody will be there for you like when you're going to college, when you graduate, when you get a house, like when you get
Like all the
married.
big things, but then when you
Yes.
go, it's just
But what
like,
about the in between versus the accomplishments? Because the in between is the roughest part.
yes, and I feel like I understand what you're saying in that, like that's why I kind of have a hard time speaking of like friendship and support and stuff like that because like it's like oh everybody's going through their own thing at the end of the day so like they can't help you because they're going to do this they're going to do this but I'm like I feel like if you're friends and you're honest with people then like they can more or less understand and they may be going through the same thing as you but you're not speaking on it so I feel like within that it's just like oh well yeah like I showed up because like you had an apartment warming but I didn't really know that you wanted to have like I don't know like an event at your house or like I didn't know that you were like past due on rent. Well, yes, it's because you wasn't checking up on me. So like of course you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So I feel like that just goes with the adults and they're like, oh, we're grown, we're grown, we're grown. But still at the end of the day, like everybody's not figuring out like some people, their parents, what I was gonna say earlier, like going back to the apartment, like when I got my apartment in college, like my parents had to be a guarantor or whatever, you know, because you know you
Yeah,
can't
like you're signing off
like
on.
now your parents don't have to be guarantor. Like you have to have that credit score. You have to have that 3 times that rent. And it can be a struggle and stuff like that. So everybody doesn't really have the support. Everybody's parents can't help them. Like everybody don't know how it goes. So I just think that even in society, you know, people are like, oh, like I don't need friends. I don't want friends. Like I'm by myself or da, da, da. So I feel like that can go into the like, oh, like the innocence of like adulting or like the
Yeah, yeah,
support like lack of because it's just
yeah,
like everybody's on their own individual path.
yeah. Which is
But
crazy though, because like I said, as babies, like in kids, like people are showing up and showing out for kids. But it's like after high school and maybe like really college, if the person goes to college, it's just like it dies off somehow.
I also think that I would challenge that with American culture and individualistic
Yeah,
society.
yeah, yeah.
Because when you're in a collectivistic culture side, them kids don't leave their parents' house so they get married.
No, yeah, that's really
So
true.
I think it depends on the culture. It's like we're just like, okay, we get out this American dream, whatever the heck that is, because I don't want the American dream if I gotta keep
Yeah, I
paying all
forgot all about that. Let's not even talk about that because I
this. So like I feel like it's like they push you out like okay you go you're grown now you go get your own thing you go But I feel like in collectivists, like, I mean, they don't really probably go to school, but like they work hard, they build up their wealth, like they live with each other. They don't move out until
It's
they're
pass
ready, and
wealth
they have
around.
two incomes. And of course that goes with some of that goes with religion and stuff like that. And so it's like nobody's ever gonna be on the same path, because some people are religious, some people are not religious. Some people um don't believe in marriage. I guess some people do believe in marriage. So I think that could be a part of it too. Just the different cultures, like in the different, like Americans are really individualistic, and I really, really do not really like that. Like I wish we was more of like collectivistic culture, but we're also in a what's society, not society, but they call it a like not communism. What does they call it? Like
Capitalism.
capitalism. Yes, it's another c word, but yes, but yeah, capitalism. Like we're in a capitalist society, so it's like no, you
Yeah.
nobody cares. Even when they're like, if you die tomorrow, like your job will have it up, no, 2 weeks. It's like there's no compassion. Like there's no um no compassion, no empathy for like people and how people live and how people are. They're just worried about themselves. And I'm not saying that you should not be worried about yourself, but good gosh, I mean, you can worry about maybe your neighbor. Even like that, you're like, you don't know who your neighbor is. You don't know who
Yeah.
lives across from you. And sometimes you really need to be knowing that, because it's better to know so you can be like, oh, okay, this, and that. Like you can go and not see anybody all day long, versus I feel like in other cultures, like they walk around a lot more probably. So they
Yeah.
do know that they do see it. So I feel like that's a cultural thing.
Yeah, yeah, that is true too. But it's kind of like the pandemic has helped to kind of make it better, because work turned into people's home, which turned into having kids and pets and spouses home at the same time and all that stuff. However, I feel like because we've been in it for like over the year, it became normal. And then normal meant who cares anymore. And now that like we've had advancements of like with the vaccine, and like that it's kind of slowed down, people are like, oh, we're gonna go back in person, so like everything we did is out the window, and like who cares that we were working remote before? Now you have to come in here 5 days for what?
I
Because the work
know.
still got
We
done.
never had to go in 5 days. Like we didn't have the pandemic. Like that's what I'm saying. It should be a lesson. Like you can really work from
People are
home. I'm
getting
sorry
people
that you wanted to
are
build them big corporate buildings and want to have people up in there. You didn't ever need that. You could take that money and pay your employees more. That's my logic.
No, that's the real thing that like I hope would have came out of this. And I mean, I don't know if it will, that like educators need to be paid more, nurses need to be paid more, we need to defund the police. We need to pay literally fast food workers, hotels, like anything that still had to be in person full time from
Totally,
March
the
to
hospitality
now.
industry,
Yes, needs to be paid
but
more.
they're not going to.
They're not, but they need
It's
to.
always just like they're like, well, why would we raise minimum wage so people can have a decent living? Well, then that's just going to be inflation. Well, money is fake.
That thank you, thank
Print
you. Because that's
more.
what I just said like the other day to my friend. I was like, okay, I just had a thought. The government prints the money. So in theory, this is monopoly money. Like just print some more money and start giving people more. Like I don't understand the concept. Like I understand the concept of money, but because we make it in the United States, like I don't feel like we'll ever run out of money. So why don't we start giving people more money? Like I'm confused by that.
Yeah, we don't, and I don't understand that either. Because like when you do, yeah, you hear when you're young, like, oh yeah, money. This, money. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know money. Thinking money growing trees. Well, it really do come from the
They
machines that they
print
make
it.
it in. And like even that, you can tell that we are individualistic, because throughout this, Canada's been getting money. Some other countries been getting money. We got 2 stimulus checks.
That was
People don't
like
even have no jobs.
if that,
Two
if
stimulus checks.
that, not even two. It was like a month, depending on where you live.
Yeah, it's like no. It's
I'm
whenever that
gonna get the third one.
pandemic, we need a third, fourth, fifth. We actually a year overdue, because like every month we should have got extra money because
We
people are out of work. So like,
and that's the thing too. Like people were out of work. Some people still might be out of work. Yes, a lot of people got jobs, and I feel like that's another problem is that people have a hard time thinking about people that are outside of their own scope. So it's like you might see all your friends and stuff getting jobs during this time, but like, what about people who are homeless? What about people who did lose their jobs, or got sick, or passed
they
away?
don't
They
have empathy. They don't have empathy for that. Like they don't have empathy. Even this is like, I feel like this right here is like a white black issue. Like these white collar people jobs, like they can get their they probably don't work from home for 10 years. They can get their kid, they can get their little, they have their connections and stuff like that. But it's like when the black people have, they don't really have the collar jobs, the collars to like put their family on and stuff like that. So at the end of the day,
yeah.
yeah, they're good because they work from home. They've been working from home. They can go remote. They can go into an office, whatever. So I feel like that is in that part. Like they have no empathy because I mean they probably been investing, you know. I'm just now learning. I mean, I started learning about investing actually 2020. I'm learning more about it right now because I got a book on it. So I
Yeah.
plan to invest 2022. But like just that whole cycle. And so what I would say is like I've always been like not like focused on money, but I've always been like money savvy with like savings and stuff. But like now I was like last year, 2020, I did a whole series. I did a whole like series on like financial literacy. So I was like, okay, like let me learn this stuff. Let me do it now. So then when I do go into like my job, you know, like I know about 401ks because I before you like, I don't want a 401k, but now you know, like that's free money, you know? So it's like we need to learn about like 401ks, Roth IRAs, index funds, like stock market, like learning about all that stuff. So then the next 10 years, if this happens again, which it might happen again, because 10 years ago was the Great Depression when the housing market wouldn't happen. Now this 10 years is the pandemic. I don't know what the next 10 years is going to be, but I know that I need to be financially ready and
Yeah.
stable for whatever happens. Because they do not help you out here.
Mess all around.
And welcome to adulthood.
No, literally, I was thinking as like you were saying it, I was like, and this is a summary of all the foolishness that we can converse about and dive deeper into because I really feel like the main it's not like an issue, but the main source of all this is money and finding a job and like living, which are our basic rights. Like everybody needs a job ideally to like survive. Everybody needs a place to live, like, and these things seem so unattainable sometimes depending on your like circumstances and where you are and the cost of living and like what your job is paying you and all these other crazy things that nobody teaches you about and nobody like really wants you to know because they just want everybody to stay like where they're at.
Yeah, definitely. They want you to stay down.
Yeah.
Like, no, what Cardi say? If it's up, then it's stuck. I'm going up, and I need to be stuck on going up. Okay, so yes, welcome to adulthood. I
So
hope you
that was a great like wrap up summary here.
yes, welcome to adulthood. I hope you all join us on our weekly episodes of adulthood. We're going to be talking about like different things, like self care, burnout. We might even throw some responsibilities in there. We might throw some tips and tricks, you know, like taxes and everything like that. But we really want to be able to just like come together, talk about adulting, give y'all some tips, and let y'all know maybe some things that we learned on the way
Yes.
and some things that we would like to share so you all will not have to go through the things that we went
Because this is just really ghetto. Like I can't wrap my head around how ghetto this is. And like nobody prepares you. Like I really feel like I think about my parents and my even my sister, she's 11 years older than me, like thinking about her and I'm like, why didn't you all tell me? Like this is ghetto. Like
I knew a little bit about it, but that's so crazy. Like my two older brothers, um they're like 7 and 8 years about it. So I knew kind of like the job market, but I also lived on post kind of. So like I knew the job market was bad, but I didn't know. But also like they're in like the HR field. So I was like, well, I ain't getting in that field. That's boring. Too many people have been there. And like how much they would get paid and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not about to do that. Like I need to get my degree. I need to do this. But it's like, it honestly is so hard to find a job. And I was talking to my dad because I recently got like the job offer. He's like, well, that's more than what your brothers was making. Well, I need to be still making more than that. Like that's more than they was making, but that's still not right. But it's like, you just gotta figure out how you fit into the puzzle. But even though it's not right and everybody's still so underpaid, yet they make the money in the United States, I'm still confused. So if anybody can answer that question for me, please let me know how we are underpaid and then make the money in the United States.
Yeah,
But
it's just,
you're like, oh, you're gonna get a degree, and that's what they talking about. Some, are you gonna get a doctorate for what? Why would I get a doctorate when I couldn't even barely get a degree, job with a master's?
no, that's a whole other
Do
topic we need to talk about because, like, that's just another topic because we can go down a rabbit hole.
He was like, well, when you get older, no, when I get older, I'm not going to care about a doctor because that didn't get me in no doors. My master's degree was supposed to get me in the door. It got me in the hallway. Like, barely. I'm not going to get a doctorate degree, be over there busting my tail to try to write no 100-page dissertation. I might as well write a book. I don't care about these letters in front of my name. I'm so sorry. I'm not even trying to be funny. I mean, if you're like a doctor, like really like a dentist, a doctor, like what is it called? Like not a doctor like that, but like you go to the doctor, you know, or a lawyer, something like that. I'm really not trying to say no like PhD people, but like at the end of the day, it's like not even trying to be funny, but like what are we studying and learning all that stuff for? Because at the end of the day, they're still not going to pay you. You're going to be a doctor. This you doing all this research. You doing all this research. You defending your dissertation.
Yep.
And what is it really doing?
Yeah, and I'm not discrediting anybody. I completely agree with you because, like, I was told, like, you like go to the higher ed path of like get your bachelor's, get your master's, and then like consider going back for your doctorate, especially if the school pays for it. And that sounded good at the time. And like just yesterday was 6 years since I graduated with my master's, which again sounds crazy because I'm not old, but like that just sounds like it was very long ago. Mm-hmm. But people were like, see if your school will pay for it and like then get your doctorate. And my school currently pays for it that I'm working at now. And initially, like when I went through the interview process and got here, I was like, oh yeah, like I think I would consider a doctorate because it's paid for. However, as we have navigated through this pandemic, and then just also like your point of like, why are we studying more when like, I think the skills matter more than the education and the research. And then a lot of like the research and education that people are doing can be done without having the doctorate degree. And again, I'm not discrediting anybody. And I think that if you get a doctorate degree, that is an amazing accomplishment. But everybody I've talked to was like, this was horrible. Like I had a horrible time going through this. This is rough. This is a lot. So why do I want to do that?
Right? For you not to even get paid for real, honestly. And I'm just like, no, like I thought about it. I'm like, EDD, I can't even look at that stuff. And just imagine being in school 3 nights a week, 6:30, 9:30. I would be crying. And let's not talk about this. I really think this is fake. This is just something. I don't know if it's fake, if it's what is it called? Like when you hit, it's like when you think of something. I'm trying to think of the word. It's like when you think of something and it's people call it a not like a hypocrisy, not a hypocrisy, but like they call it, what is it called when like someone, like if someone dies and a black person like, oh, they died because of this and that. You know what I'm trying to say? They call it a is it an S word or is it an H word?
Like you're saying it as in a not a bad way, but like,
oh no, I'm saying like, what is it called? Like, you know, when someone dies, like say a famous person dies or something like that, like they create this scenario of why they died. What is that called? Like the word? You don't know the word is either?
No.
I don't know. Not a stereotype. I forgot what the heck the word is. But either or, like I honestly like being in student affairs, studying student affairs, like studying theories. I really honestly, I don't want to say I think they're fake, but like I really
It's
sometimes,
outdated for one.
yes, I think it's like, oh, cool, like you could say this, you could say that, but like, I'm like, why are we learning theories about cars? Just like these people like 1900 years ago, like. I really feel like they're kind of fake, and it's just like something that people like created, like, oh, this guy was this whatever. So like, oh, let's say he created this theory. Like, I don't want to say theories are fake because they do
No, I
have
hate theories. I've
facts
always
to
hated
them.
theories because I feel like theories make sense. They do, but they're outdated because, like you're saying, they're from like 1990 something, early 1990s, before that. And I don't know what updated theories have been created. And even so, I think because student affairs is so based on research,
Yeah.
obviously everything changes year to year.
And I
So,
don't believe in research. That's really, I don't believe in research. That's really, I think, what it is, because people can lie. People can say whatever they want to. Like, do you got 5 kids or you got 4 kids? Are you saying they could be like whatever? People like little kids even answer. So
yeah.
that's why I think I'm like, I don't even want to do the research because people can lie, like you doing all this stuff, and not maybe more now people are being truthful, but people can lie about research. People can lie about anything. So like, I don't even know if research is true. Don't know if them theories are true. I don't really know if any of that stuff is true, but that's just my
Yeah.
personal opinion. So y'all can let me know if y'all think it is true, if y'all think that it's fake, or if y'all can prove some points. Somebody tell me what that word means. It's, I really
I
forgot what
don't
it's
know
called,
what
but
it
like
is.
you said what?
I don't know what it is.
I think it starts with like a S or something like that. I'm gonna think about it when we get off of here. Um Something suspicious, suspicious. Not suspicious, but it's like when someone dies, they be like, why y'all coming up with this like reason of why this person died or something like that, or showing like, like a 333 or a 999. They be like,
Superstitious.
huh?
Superstitious.
Superstition, like, yeah, like it's like a superstition, but that's not the word that I was thinking of, but like it is like a superstition. Like they're like, why can't y'all just think the person just passed away? Like, why is it something that have to be like behind how the person passed away? You know what I'm saying? You don't
Yeah.
know what I'm saying.
No, I do.
I just can't think.
You're explaining it better.
Uh-huh.
I still
But
can't
I
think
just
of
can't
what
think
it's
of the word. Like they always say it when, I don't know if it's some type of
suspicious.
theory, huh?
Suspicious, or they have a
Yeah,
suspicious.
so I was like, it's suspicious, but it's like it's a different word, and I cannot think of the word. But like, I'll see it. Like, you know how they talk about like Michael Jackson, like
Mhm.
how Michael Jackson died. They'll be
Conspiracy.
like, yes, conspiracy theory. Yes.
I
Oh
was like,
my
we're about to
god,
sit here all day until we can figure out this word.
conspiracy theory. That is what I knew it was something theory. That is the word, conspiracy theory. Like, I don't really want to say that these theories are conspiracy or these research is a conspiracy, but I was thinking like it's like a conspiracy theory,
Yeah.
like. But like, you know how people be like, it's not a conspiracy theory, like they just died or something like that. But people try to put some of the facts together. I forgot what I was trying to get to, but yeah, I feel like it's like a conspiracy theory. Like, how you gonna say this, and that with this research and that? And who was really going back? Who was really going to college? How was y'all thinking of them theories in 1900 and 1800 and before BC? Because then men look old, and it's a whole bunch of white men.
Yeah.
Like, if student affairs wants to come on to it, y'all need to be more diverse how y'all say y'all are on y'all websites, okay?
Yep.
And change it. But that is the word, conspiracy theory. That's just my idea. I don't know. That's my opinion. I don't really know, but that's what I be thinking about. Like, what's the real, okay? And that's why I'm not going to get my doctorate degree, okay?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Still, I'm undecided. We'll see what the good Lord has in store, but I don't know.
Okay, yes, but I hope y'all enjoy this episode. It was kind of long, because it's an introduction episode. But you can always follow us on Instagram at the Adulting Queen and at Millennial Thoughts Pod.